everybody. If you did not sign in, there's a sign-in sheet at the back. If you can do so, that'd be great.
You ready? Yep. The Escambia County Contractor Competency Board is in session for the July 7th, 2021. Madam Secretary, will you read the rules, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Please silence all cell phones. If you wish to speak, please let the board secretary know in advance. Otherwise, raise your hand for the board chair to recognize your request. When the chairman calls you to speak, come to the podium, adjust the microphone, then state your name and address for the record. You are requested to keep your remarks brief and factual. Both parties of an issue will be granted uniform maximum time to speak, which typically runs between 3 and 5 minutes. This hearing is considered quasi-judicial. Conduct is formal and profane or derogatory comments will not be tolerated.
Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, with, I believe 8 members present, because Mr. Downs is walking in your door now. We do.
Okay, thank you. Do you have proof of publication on the notification of this meeting?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The announcement was published on... It was published on July 3rd, 2021 in the Pensacola News Journal.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of June the 2nd. Motion made. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. At the end of the discussion, changes, additions, deletions. Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the minutes are approved. At this point in the agenda, we have a public forum.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We had one speaker request form, a Janeth Bondurant. Ms. Bondurant, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Janeth Bondurant, and I live at 2501 Sweetheart Lane, Pensacola. And thank you for allowing me to speak. On March 25th, 2020, we contracted Matthew Banks Construction, contractor number RR2828-12001, for an 18 by 19 master bedroom addition, renovation of our closets and bathroom, renovation of our galley kitchen, and new flooring throughout the house, and painting of the interior of the house. On March 25th, my husband also wrote him a check. He said that he needed $48,000 to start.
Oh, sorry, please slow down.
I'm sorry?
You wrote a check for how much?
$48,000 is what he said he needed to start. So my husband wrote the check, and that he said that he would start on June 6th and would be completed in 3 months. The demo of the master room didn't start until July 27th and took 4 weeks to complete, and only consisted of one person from Banks. We continue to question the lack of manpower. However, we were never given a reasonable explanation. This happened throughout August, September, October, November, and December of 2020. In August 2020, the cement was poured 3/4 of an inch too high and wasn't leveled until January 2021 and took 3.5 weeks. In December of 2020, Banks said that they were 50% complete of our reno, and that it was a total of $51,000, which it was not. So we called him to discuss this $51,000, and he said that they would need an additional $25,350 to move forward to start the to complete the bathroom, install the fixtures and everything that was included in our new addition. they said that they couldn't continue without the $25,000, so my husband wrote another check. After he wrote the check on December 14th, they took a 2-week break and then returned and purchased a house a block from where we lived to flip. In January, we were told to remove everything from our kitchen cabinets because they were going to start renovating the kitchen, but they didn't. January, we filed a complaint with the Attorney General, Department of Business and Professional Relations, the Escambia County Building Services, and the Construction Industry Licensing Board. And then on August 3rd, 2021, Mr. Banks contacted me and stated that he had to put our rental on hold to get his paperwork in order, which took 2 weeks. On January 27th, 2021, we asked for an end date. We could never get an end date for anything. We explained to them and stressed that we had events in May that we wanted to be home to take care of. I retired this past March, and I wanted to be at home to have my daughter stay with us because her husband was out of town. So she couldn't stay with us. We had to send my mother someplace else when she returned from COVID. There were a lot of issues with Mr. Banks. They stopped returning our calls and our emails. And on April 21st, I received a call from a Melissa Reber, identifying herself as the new inspector responding to my complaint filed with the Escambia County in January. I asked if I could have an inspector come out to our home because it should have been completed last year, and her reply was that she needed to call, that she had to get with Mr. Banks to make sure his permits were in order. There's been about 20 phone calls between Ms. Reber and myself, and I'm constantly begging for resolutions to this nightmare. On June 21st, Ms. Reber called me to say that they had a roundtable regarding the competency of Mr. Banks and that there were no findings because his permits were in order. However, there'll be another one this July to see where we are in the construction, and I asked if I can sit on this meeting, and she said that I was unable to. For the month of May 2021, there's been only 15 hours of construction to our home. For the month of June, there's only been 6 hours of construction to our home. As of today, the only thing completed in the home is the shower. We file complaints as we're instructed as a homeowner, but no one is ever there for the homeowner. However, when a contractor is not given the satisfaction from the homeowner, they can put a lien on the homeowner's home. But I feel as though there's no one there for us. This has caused tremendous stress.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you, ma'am.
This has caused tremendous stress in our home. I've moved out of the home. And so my husband is there, and there's still no one there to complete our home. And this nightmare, I don't know when it's going to end because we could never get an end date from Mr. Banks. He continues to give us excuses. So I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. We cannot hire an attorney because we've already given them $75,000 cash, not a loan. Thank you. I don't expect anything. I just wanted to be heard that we have done our part as a homeowner hiring a contractor. We just don't know what steps to take next. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, a complaint was filed by Ms. Bondurant. We did receive it. If you have any questions for Melissa or maybe Tim, in regard to that.
Okay. Melissa?
We do have an open complaint on that. Mr. Banks' permits are all active. I've spoke to him. He basically said COVID was a delay in some of his work. It started during about that time. But all of his permits are still active.
If all the permits are active, and there's really nothing we can do at this point in time?
I would still keep.
Is there, Tim?
Well, We probably need to double check to see if he's gone over the time period for action on the permits. You have 6 months to call for inspection, maybe over that, and if so, we'll make contact with him, but he, really all he has to do is ask for an extension.
Okay. I would suggest that you request that you do that, and we'll put this on the agenda for next meeting.
Sure. And I think the problem was there was no end date in the contract, so that was really not enforceable. If there's nothing there, we couldn't find a reason to bring it before the board. We'd be happy to. If we can find that, we'll be happy to.
If he has a permit that he hasn't closed out,
Well,
or is
if he asks for an extension and we extend it, and if it's, I normally will give him, the first extension I'm pretty liberal with that. I'll
Yeah.
go ahead and extend it. I need to be consistent with how I treat all the others. But that's all he has to do is ask for an extension. He has 90 days to ask for an extension, and that he would get another 180 days.
well, if you would check for us and let us know at the next meeting,
Absolutely.
we'll keep it active.
And I just wanted to chime in. That's, I did some of the initial design consulting for Ms. Bondurant, and she had reached out recently also, in regards to this. And there, from a preliminary glance, I didn't go to the site or dive into it too much, but I just wanted to note it was about the 5th call that I've gotten in the past 3 months in a kind of a takeover capacity where it doesn't quite hit the 90-day abandonment issue, but I mean there's major issues going on with what the conditions are.
Yeah.
What the people exposed to, and the contract that I saw on at least 3 of those indicated 50% down, and then the remaining 50% at the 50% mark. So it's getting spiked and front-loaded, and then there's nothing that the owners could really do. So I think the contract was kind of as a sword, not a shield to the owners, and I believe Ms. Bondurant to be pretty straight dealing. So I just wanted to comment
Yeah.
on her behalf.
That's good. There.
Drew, did you say you done some work for her?
I did some initial design stuff about a year and a half ago, but I'm not involved in any construction,
All right, I was just noting that there could be a conflict of interest there.
possibly.
Well, at this point in time, there isn't any, because we have no decision before us. So, okay, thank you, Mr. Dahl. Moving on, Board Secretary status report.
We have nothing at this time, sir.
All right, we'll move into contractor applications. Item number 7A.
Contractor's application, item number 7-1, Stark Williams. Mr. Stark Williams is not present, sir. His application for examination is a residential contractor.
Typically, the board likes to meet each applicant whenever they apply. However, it's at the discretion of the board. From the paperwork, it's staff's recommendation that his application be approved.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the application for examination for Williams Stark is approved.
The next applicant is Mr. Dusty Polk. Mr. Polk is not present at this time, at this moment. Application for examination, master plumber with gas.
What's the recommendation?
It's staff's recommendation that this application be approved.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the application for examination for Dusty Polk is approved.
The next applicant is Spencer Stapleton. Mr. Spencer, if you come up to the podium. State your first and last name for the record, please.
Spencer
And your
Stapleton,
address.
3221 Whistler Drive, Pensacola, 32503.
Mr. Stapleton, application for examination as residential contractor, sir.
Entertain a motion. Or anybody have any questions? But
Yeah,
entertain a motion to approve.
Staff recommend?
It is staff's recommendation to approve.
Yes. Motion to approve?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any questions of Mr. Stapleton?
No, sir.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the application for examination for Spencer Stapleton is approved. And Mr. Stapleton, we want to see you back here.
I won't be.
Okay, good deal. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good luck to you. Next.
Contractor's application 7-4, Mr. Turner, Michael Turner. Come state your first and last name and your address for the record, please, sir.
Michael Turner, 5889 Last Big Tree Lane, Pensacola, Florida, 32505.
Mr. Turner, application for examination is specialty structure, sir.
And it is staff's recommendation to approve.
Motion to approve?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any questions of Mr. Turner?
No, sir, thank you.
Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the application for examination for Michael Turner is approved. Thank you, Mr. Turner, and don't come back to see us.
All right.
Next.
Application, contractor's application 7, Mrs. Billy Pitts. Ms. Billy is not present at this moment. Her application for examination is demolition trade exam only, sir.
Mrs. Pitts also has a license in doors, window siding, I believe.
Underground utility.
Underground utility, so she's already passed the business and law portion. So this is to take the trade exam only.
Okay.
And it is staff's recommendation to approve.
All right. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the application for examination for Billy Pitts is approved.
The next applicant is Mr. Duran Broughton. Come on up, Mr. Duran. State your first and last name and address for the record, okay?
Darren Boughton, it's 3487 Rolling Acres Road, Milton, Florida, 32571.
Mr. Boughton came before us for a change of status, a reinstatement for a plumbing journeyman's license. Upon the roundtable's discussion, the application for examination for journeyman's plumbing was contingent upon his test scores, sir.
Right, so he previously applied to this board for a reinstatement. However, it was determined that you guys didn't have the ability to approve that reinstatement based on ordinance and unable to find anything where it allowed you to do so. So we let Mr. Boughton know that he could come back for application for examination before this board. He does have to still fill out the form. We put his change of status form up with the agenda. He has already passed the examination, and we do have proof of his test scores. So he technically will not have to retest because he's already passed the test.
He just has to go through the process.
Yes, sir.
Entertain a motion to approve. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Everybody understands what's happening? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the application for examination from Mr. Darren Boughton is approved. Thank you, and don't come back to see us. Now we move into probable cause.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Item 8.1 is Tyler B. Thompson doing business as Thompson Residential Construction, LLC, state registered license number RR282812142, CCB case number 210426COM. It's in regards to Amanda Stevens at 5412 Tomlinson Road in Pensacola, Florida, 32526. If you recall, this case was brought to this board at the last meeting. However, Ms. Stevens was not able to be present. The board at that time decided to continue this meeting to today's date because you wanted Ms. Stevens to be present. I believe both parties of this case are present, right? And Mr. Thompson has representation.
Okay. Ms. Stevens, would you come forward, please?
Typed up a timeline and copies of invoices. I have extra copies, but I only made 3 extra, so.
You need to talk into
I'm
the
sorry.
mic. Thank
I
you.
made some
Does she
extra
need to be
copies for you
sworn in?
guys.
Huh?
Does she need to be sworn in?
Yes.
Okay.
She needs to be sworn in,
If
anybody.
you are party to this case, if you could stand and be sworn in by Ms. Joanne, thank you.
Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is that the whole one?
Do you want me to go over the timeline, or do you want to read it first? I'm not sure if you have questions.
Ms. Stevens, if you could just go ahead and explain the situation however you'd like. And
Sure, okay. It just makes it easier for me to be really OCD and put it in a timeline. So, last year, 9/16, Hurricane Sally put a large hole in my living room and caused extensive flooding and damage. I was already in conversation with another contractor, but they would never commit to a start date. So on 10/30/2020, the first available roofing company time was able to come in and put in the roof. They had permits, they put on the new roof. 11/9/2020, the new AC unit was installed. By the time the middle of November started rolling around, we had ran out of the insurance claim fighting back and forth, and so they no longer would pay for the Airbnb that we were staying in. So we moved back into the home where we could not run heat, and it was very cold. And so I started going online to look for new contractors that were highly rated because of the experience with the first contractor. I called First Choice Home Improvements, and they could not do anything because of all the hurricane damage, and so they recommended Tyler Thompson. They said that he had contracted for them in the past. On 11/11, Tyler came out, he looked at everything. I explained what legal documentation I need because I work at Navy Federal, I have a mortgage there. They require all of this stuff to match the license, the W-9, the insurance, everything. So he explained that this was his first job out on his own, and he would have to get everything in his name, and as soon as he had that, he would come back with a contract. So 12/3/2020 started all of the contract repairs. It was extensive repairs and remodel. I decided since I had to do hurricane repairs, I was going to upgrade my entire house. So tear down walls, move electrical, new kitchen cabinets, new shower, new floors, new paint, tankless water heater. The agreement was to pay on 3 sections of the house because we had to live there. I have 2 children living there, and my granddaughter comes every 2 weeks. So I said, look, we've got to live here, so I need to do in sections, and we'll move around like gypsies in our own home. And so the agreement was to pay 1/3 up front for each section, 1/3 in the middle, and 1/3 at the end. Final payment was to be made at the satisfactory completion of the entire job. I made the first installment payment on 12/3 of $16,500. I made a second installment payment on 12/9 of $19,634, and the third installment in January 29th of $20,204. From December 3rd, 2020 through March the 10th, things seemed to go smoothly. We would have regular conversations about the timeline of the deliveries, cabinets, windows, any issues that arose, concerns that I had, asking his guys to clean more thoroughly each day because I had to clean every night when they left because, again, we're living there. Other than his decision to lay the floors in sections, even though I had asked for it specifically to be done at one time, taking a 2-week break from my job due to the cabinet order delay and asking me to pay more for things than the original bid, like the countertops, we seemed to be moving along pretty well. I was also concerned with the number of times he let me know how he was over contract amount on items, even though I had made a conscious effort to save in every way possible, and there's a list at the end of the timeline showing you how I saved money. Not to get the money back, but because he kept telling me he was over contract. January 6th, I gave him an initial punch out list of the areas that he had already completed, which was all but the master bedrooms, so that I could stay on track of the areas I was not satisfied with. January 28th, I sent another extensive list that included the kids' rooms, hallway, hall bath of items that I was not happy with. One item that had to be redone or had to be done is a transition piece from the hall bath to the hallway. I requested up front for the floors to be laid all at one time so I would have no transition pieces throughout my whole house. Due to the way they had laid the floor in sections, the hall bath popped up twice, the hall bath flooring. And they said the only way they could fix it was to put in a transition piece. So I have a transition piece in my hall. And flooring is popping up throughout the house now, peeling back multiple places, but we'll talk about that later. 2/4/2021, work began on expanding the master shower. The plumbing work that was done caused the hot water not to be able to turn on the other bathroom for 2 days. I found out later that there were no permits and inspection done on that plumbing. 2/6/2021, I had a long conversation about the cabinet work that my friend did to save money. Because of the conversations about being over budget, I have a friend who just does home improvement for fun, and so he put in my cabinets for free. Nobody paid him. 2/23/21 gave another punch-out list. 2/24 through 3/8, I kept updating the punch-out list as things were redone and fixed. I would say, okay, this is fine, but this isn't. On 3/10/2021, after several punch-out lists, I emailed an extensive list of items I wanted corrected before final payment would be made. This was after several discussions about items that kept being missed and ignored. It was also after my lender came out and inspected and told me things that I had not noticed as the homeowner and not the contractor or building professional. 3/10/2021, when I sent that email, Tyler came over to discuss my emailed list. He said that he could not pull his guys off of their new job to fix my nitpicky cosmetic items. Asked me to get bids from other contractors, and we would just take that amount off the last $20,000 that I owed him. So in the next 5 days, I had multiple contractors come out. I called anybody that would come just to give me a bid. I didn't know who I was going to hire, but I knew that I was going to hire somebody individually for all of these things because at this point, I did not trust a general contractor. And so as these contractors came out, I realized that it was not just cosmetic and that my house had been put at risk. The main breaker box in my bedroom had been painted shut where the main breaker was solidly sealed. You could not flip it. Strong men tried to move it, could not move it. So I had to replace the entire breaker box. There was no waterproofing in the shower. We tore out a complete shower and extended it to a 4x6 shower. There was no waterproofing. And the doors were put on with the locking mechanisms improperly installed, and so you could not properly lock my doors, and the new painter had to fix those. 3/15/2021, the messages from Tyler became more aggressive. He was more concerned about his final payment than the fact that my home had been left unfinished and poorly done. After quite a bit of conversation, he then called me back and texted me and said just to keep the final $20,000 to fix things to my specification or to my satisfaction. From 3/20 to 3/23, I sent multiple messages asking him to send me pictures proving that he had done waterproofing in the shower so that I would not have to pay to do the shower all over again. I never got proof. 3/26/2021, I paid a new electrician $950 to replace the entire breaker box and put spacers throughout the house on the light fixtures as per my inspector that the lender requested. 4/28/2021, I paid a new plumber, tile contractor, $7,545.29 to replace the shower and properly install plumbing and waterproofing materials. That plumber and that tile guy did get permits, has been inspected twice by you guys. 5/10 through 6/10/2021, I paid a new painter $5,260 to correct sheetrock, texture, trim, and paint issues and fix the door locking mechanisms and hinges. The bids that I have received for the floors range from $8,000 to $12,000, and if you add up the money I've already spent fixing the issues, we're at $14,000, so we're looking at $22,000 to $26,000. I am out of insurance money, and so I'm just going to not fix the floors at this moment and wait till I save up some more money. So then there's a list of the items that I saved money in different ways by shopping for cheaper materials or whatnot, and then there's different estimates in here. My main goal with submitting a complaint is I am financially secure. I am able to fix what was done to my house. There's a lot of people out there that can't do that. There's a lot of people out there that can't fire the original contractor and hire new people, like the sweet lady that was up here earlier. So I am here because not everybody can do what I did and start asking questions and stand up for themselves and be able to pay to fix everything. I don't want that to continue to happen to anybody else. That's why I'm here.
Have you filed a complaint with the state?
Have not yet.
Are you, good?
Mr. Chairman, if she were to file a complaint with the state would refer it back to us because he is a locally licensed contractor.
okay.
I have been in constant communication with Melissa. She's seriously the best, and I followed her directions on everything. In fact, I forgot, I'm sorry, it's not in the timeline. 2 weeks ago, I got a text from Tyler asking if I would meet him at a notary to sign a notice of commencement so that he could have permits done on my job that is finished by other people. That's a concern for me.
What date was that?
I don't have my phone. I have the text. I think it was 2 weeks ago. It was right after the initial hearing that you guys had with him.
Was the initial plumbing permit inspected?
If you'll give
For
me a
the
minute,
shower?
I can bring up the permitting history for her address.
This is Joe Pazzaretti, attorney for Tyler. I actually have a copy of the permit that I can hand you that he acquired subsequent. Or you can
It's-
look it up on the computer.
Nope. They don't have the number. All right, as you can see, this is the permitting history for 5412 Tomlinson. Here is where the roof permit was pulled, which falls in with the timeline. Then there was an addition pulled, owner builder permit by Ms. Stevens to add a rear addition. Then another roof permit pulled by Ms. Stevens. An electric permit pulled by DTR for repairing the damaged panel. Plumbing permit for adding a new shower valve, one fixture. Then a new plumbing permit, which was van plumbing. New gas permit, also van plumbing. Then the residential alteration permit pulled by Mr. Thompson. And then another electrical permit pulled. The plumbing and the gas permits that were pulled subsequently have been closed. That means they've already had inspections. Which details do you want about?
No, I was concerned about they installed a new shower.
Mm-hmm.
That appeared not to have a waterproofing. And the permit, and it was never inspected.
The new shower was never permitted. It looks like they had an existing shower that had a new valve put in, but there isn't one for a new shower until June 1st of 2021, pulled by Van Plumbing.
That's the most recent.
That is not the person I hired. That is the plumber that he had come in that never was inspected.
So the original shower was never inspected.
No, it was not.
Is that correct?
I mean, there's no proof that it was in here.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thompson?
Good morning. Joe Pazzaretti, I'm the attorney for Mr. Thompson. My understanding from reading the rules of procedure for this hearing is that I had a chance to cross-examine Ms. Stevens. Is that consistent with what our rights are?
Mr. Pazzaretti is correct.
Yes.
All right.
He does have that opportunity.
Ms. Stevens, if I may ask you just a few questions. And if it's okay, may I be seated while I ask her
Sure.
questions, or how would you prefer? Good morning, Ms. Stevens. My
Good
name
morning.
is Joe Pazzaretti. I'm an attorney for Mr. Tyler Thompson. And I'm just going to follow up on a few comments that you had made. And I'm sorry that we're here meeting like this. I wish we were meeting in a different context, but I do want to
Not any more than I do.
I do want to make sure the panel has a clear understanding of everything that went on with your project. You had mentioned you talked to a former...
I think we need to get a mic first.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I thought I was speaking loud enough. You had mentioned you talked to another builder. Was that Banks Construction?
No, Banks came in when I started questioning the work.
Okay.
And Banks, back early last year, was going to just do a little bit of remodeling for me. And when the hurricane hit, he said that he had a bunch of properties that were damaged, so he couldn't do any of it. And so the original contractor that I was speaking to was in Milton, and I never signed a contract with them because they never could give me a start date.
Okay. So did Banks Construction ever give you a price?
For some of the remodel before the hurricane hit, sure. It has nothing to do with the complete remodel, though. Complete repairs.
Well, let's talk about that because I want to make sure the panel understands. Your project was extensive. It touched just about every room in the house.
It did.
And the original price that Mr. Thompson provided you was over $100,000?
No,
Mr. Thompson never provided you a price that was over 100?
no.
Did anybody else ever provide you a price that was over 100?
No, the original people that I talked to gave me a price of, I think it was $67,000, and they had in there I don't remember what they called it, an overhead, like what if things go out of whack or whatever, of $8,000. So I think their total was somewhere possibly around $75,000.
Okay, so you don't recall ever going through a pricing exercise with Mr. Thompson to remove cost out of your job?
No, he gave me a cost.
So the price he gave you is the price you agreed to the first day?
The price that I signed a contract on is the exact amount that I told him I had to do my home.
And for the panel, so that it's clear, before you signed that contract, there was a price, and then that price was negotiated lower? You're saying that didn't happen?
No.
Okay. You've paid $56,000 for your project?
No, it's closer to $60,000 because the total contract price was $80,027.61, and I had left to him $20,261.19.
Well, we can add up the prices you just told the
Pretty
panel.
sure it's a little over $80,000.
The prices you just told this panel, 16.5, 19.6, 22.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, whatever that adds up to is what you paid.
Okay.
You talked about the cabinets. There's a line item in your project for $6,000 for cabinets. Do you recall that?
For the actual cabinets, yes, not the
Okay.
countertops.
Correct. Just the
Speak up for me.
Yes.
Actual cabinets.
yeah, just
Yes,
just
not the
cabinets.
countertops.
And I want to focus on the cabinets because throughout the project, I understand, and I haven't seen what you handed the panel, but I understand you went through several cost savings efforts.
Yes,
And one of those was the cabinets.
correct.
And what you did with that is there was a line item of $6,000, and you told Tyler that he could spend all $6,000 and he didn't do any of the work. You would get your friend to install it. Is that what happened there?
I went and shopped for cabinets and tried to save money, which I did. I got the cabinets, I believe, for $4,400. And after repeated situations of him saying he was over budget, I said, hey, I have a friend that can install cabinets. We can save some money. I'm not trying to get money back from you, because that was his concern the entire time, as I was going to want a refund at the end. And all I was trying to do was work with him as a good partner, which I didn't have to do.
Can I ask a question? I'm not sure what the premise of the conversation is, of the examination.
The reasons for my question. If I may expand, Mr. Bell, this project, as the evidence will show, Mr. Tyler was engaged in this project from day one. There was never a time where he was not returning your phone call on the job, responsive to your inquiries.
He was not on the job. He came in the morning and he came in the afternoons most of the time. He had 4 different people come in my house. Multiple people were fired on the job. He did not put nail to the hammer but a couple of times.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to speak up.
I'm sorry. He was not involved in the actual construction most days. He would come in the mornings, tell his guys what to do, and leave. He would come back in the afternoon. He came in and did actual work a handful of times. In the punch-out list items, never was he there to fix the problems that were happening, and the same guys kept trying to fix the issues and they weren't getting resolved.
Okay, whether or not he swings a hammer is one way to be involved in a project. But he was involved every day that you needed to talk to him, he was there.
Yes.
When you wanted to talk to him about these pricing exercises during the project to remove cost, he was there to help you with that.
He was not helping me. I was helping him. I was still paying him the $80,000. I'm trying to understand why you think that I needed help. I had the cash.
I'm sorry. I wasn't
super
suggesting you needed
confused.
help, nor would I mean to. What I'm trying to demonstrate is that there was never a time. You heard the young lady in the beginning where she can't get a hold of Banks Construction. That didn't happen to you. Tyler was there. Every time you texted him, he responded. Every time you called him, he responded. Correct?
Yes.
Can I get kind of I'm not understanding the intent of your questions.
Thank you.
Can you kind of tell us?
Yes,
what
the
your-
intent of my questions, and I guess I'm not doing a good job, is that Mr. Thompson was engaged in this project from day one, doing his level best to perform to the owner's satisfaction.
I don't think any of her complaint has anything to do with whether he was involved or not.
Well, I think she just talked about not swinging a hammer.
Well, we understand that aspect.
Okay,
of it.
I'll move on, and I'll try to wrap it up. When it comes to the punch list, you've produced, or we've produced the punch list that we've talked about, or that you've described, and I'm going to show it to you just to be sure I'm looking at the same thing. And if you'll flip through that quickly.
Yes, I would highlight and then I'd mark through and then I'd highlight and then I'd mark through and then I'd highlight and then I'd mark through. But this is not the final emailed list either.
Okay, but those are the ones I have.
Okay?
The ones that are crossed out is him trying to comply with those items that you had requested to be finished.
Correct.
And this is Exhibit E to our submittal. You punched at least every day?
The last few weeks, I would update something every day that was done, something.
Okay.
And then I would add stuff or ask about it again.
Okay, and Mr. Thompson attempted to try to comply with everything on your punch list, or his forces, or his men. Somebody tried to deal with it.
He did until the Navy Federal Inspector came in and pointed out items that I presented in the email, and then his guys were too busy.
Let's talk about Navy Federal. I'll take that back. This is Exhibit E to our submittal. Navy Federal provided funding for the job?
No, sir. I did not borrow money from Navy Federal.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you, no, sir.
I'm sorry. No, sir. Navy Federal did not. I didn't borrow money for the job because I had a mortgage and an insurance claim. Navy Federal is a third party, whatever. And so in order for them to release the final funds, they have to be actively involved in what's happening. And so the final inspector came out to look at the job and gave me some things that he was concerned about. And that's when I gave a longer list of items because, again, I'm the homeowner. I am not a building professional. I am not the one that's supposed to watch out for what work is being done properly. So that is when the main concerns began to arise because I was under the impression the entire time that I was either being nitpicky or it was cosmetic items or, I mean, every time we had a conversation about something that I was upset about, it was either I picked flooring that wasn't adequate or the guys at Home Depot mixed the wrong finish for the paint because my house had eggshell gloss. It was different textures or different finishes everywhere. And he said, oh, they must have mixed it the wrong way when we got new paint. No, it was because his guys came in with a 4-inch roller and tried to spot check holidays, and the whole house looked terrible. There was sheetrock that was piled up, gooked up, looked like somebody had vomited on my wall. And when the inspector came in, he said, these aren't items that I will hold back your money for, but I would have a very long conversation before you pay the final amount. And that's when things got not so pleasant and when he stopped responding. And if he did respond, it was aggressive because then I was not playing nice or was not the victim anymore, allowing him to convince me that everything was my fault. The floor popping up in the hallway was because I chose wrong flooring. There's no way to fix it except for a transition piece. Yeah, there is. Take up the flooring, buy more, and lay it all in one piece, but that didn't happen. So I was made to feel inferior for the longest time until I finally had somebody come in and say that I was not being nitpicky and I was not being unreasonable and paying $80,000 for a remodel of a home. I only paid $115,000 for the house 15 years ago. So I pretty much could have bought a brand-new house, and that's not what I have now.
Can I see some pictures? Do we have any photos? Investigator photos, please.
We're talking about the bank inspection. You called those bank inspections, not Tyler.
I have to because they won't release the final
That's
funds.
yes or no, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Did you tell the bank inspector that Tyler was working on your project?
They already had his information. Remember, when I hired him, he had to give me legal documentation to hand to the bank?
When they issued you a check, was it a joint check or just to you?
The funds were never written to anybody. The funds came from the insurance company. Some of them were written just to me, and I was able to deposit them directly into my account. Some of them were written to me in Navy Federal, and those are the funds that they would not transfer to my checking account until I proved the work was done.
Okay, so no joint checks with Tyler's name and your name?
No.
And
Can I
he
have,
didn't call
can I have
me-
another question real quick? The purpose of the board what we have purview of and what we can help with or not help with, I don't know if we're hitting those targets.
Mhm.
So
Well, let's talk about permitting, if I may.
I think that's our target.
Okay, you've acquired permits yourself in the past?
I acquired permits for one thing. Everything else was people I hired.
Okay, the one thing is the addition on the back of your house?
Correct.
Have you called the final inspection on that addition?
Yes, there was, he came when I wasn't there one day. My son was there. I can't remember his name.
The county inspector?
Yeah.
So that addition is pass final?
Mm-hmm.
Does the county have a record of that pass final? Because it wasn't in the material supplied. So the point of that is that you're not a stranger to permitting. You've pulled your own permits before.
I pulled permits after the relationship with him ended, and I started hiring individual people to finish the job.
Well, when did you pull?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting. I'm just trying to figure out where we're going, because who's pulling what permit for what is.
Did you discuss pulling permits before the job started with Tyler?
He asked me if I wanted to pull permits one day, and I said, I need to know when I need permits, what is required.
So it was discussed in the beginning?
Right.
And a decision was made not to pull the permit?
Apparently, a decision was made not to pull the permits, not by me.
But it was discussed with you?
Again, I am the
Those are
homeowner.
my
I'm
questions.
not sure.
Those are my
like-
questions. Thank you for your time, Ms. Stevens. I'd like to call Mr. Thompson, if I may. And Mr. Thompson, can you state your name for the record?
Yes, it's Tyler Thompson.
Can you briefly describe for the panel the scope of the work you were contracted to perform?
A lot of what Miss Amanda said was true. You know, we took out some non-load-bearing walls, new cabinets, new floor, a shower, vanities, a lot of paint, hanging drywall, those types of things.
Did you produce a price for Ms. Stevens to consider before you contracted?
I did.
And approximately what was that price?
$92,000.
We will accept that he had a contract and at a price. I don't think that's the issue. The issue is code violation, ordinance violation.
I'm not aware of a code violation. I think
Well,
it's the permitting
that's
vote.
what we're here for. All this other stuff is just not within our purview, especially anything cosmetic.
Okay, well, focusing on the permitting issue was discussed, and we, and that's what Mr. Tyler Thompson's about to testify to.
Okay, it was discussed. Was the permit pulled? Was it inspected? And did it pass inspection?
The answer to all of those, well, he can answer them, but it's no.
No, sir. No, sir. Upon our initial meeting, we discussed different ways to meet her budget. One of those ways was we discussed before I ever began work was not having a permit. It was a mistake and I regret it. But within the course of the 3 months, you know, we never had any negative word to say about each other. We had a great working relationship throughout the entire course of the project. Every day was just sunshine and rainbows. I mean, we were doing great work, not until the very last day did all this unfold. And, you know, why wait the entire course of the project to file a grievance against me, lack of permitting? And again, it's not to justify me not doing it. Since then, I've gotten a permit, and I would love to move forward. I'm confident in the work that I've done to have an inspection. If she would be so willing to sign an NOC with me, I'll file it with the clerk of court, and I'll call for an inspection. I would love to. You know, I hate the way that things turned out. Some of those issues that she's talking about is true.
I'm going to interrupt again.
Sure.
You did not pull a permit.
No, sir. Not at the beginning.
You have not had an inspection, and it's obvious that it didn't pass inspection since you didn't pull a permit.
Yes, sir.
Any comments from the board?
If we could cover the subsequent permit quickly, just so that's in the record. Did you apply subsequently, Tyler, Mr. Thompson, for a permit?
Yes.
Yeah. And is that based on a conversation you had with me, your attorney?
Well, yeah, and one of my subs called me, Van Plumbing, and told me he was able to get a permit after the fact, and
Out of time permit, after required permit.
And I didn't know I was applicable to do so. So when I found out I could, I did so immediately.
And since that time, have you tried to call inspections?
I have.
And what is the challenge with
The county? The county said without an NOC, it's impossible to call for an inspection.
Notice.
And the owner thus far is unwilling to participate in support getting
Yes.
this inspection called.
Correct.
I have more to cover, but the point is made. We didn't pull the permit. We should have. We tried to fix it. With regard to the defects and deficiencies, we wholesale disagree. It's a matter of opinion, and I'm not sure this panel's here to review that.
No, it's the hand mic.
I don't know what to do.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to clarify the notice of commencement requirement. That is a Florida statute 713. We're unable to do an inspection until that notice of commencement is filed with the clerk's office.
And if the lender is dispersing the funds, that would be the responsibility of the lender, not the homeowner.
Yeah, we don't necessarily care whose responsibility it is. It just needs to be filed with the clerk's office.
I think
And a
that
copy
would be true
turned
if
into
the lender
us.
knew there was a builder involved.
I didn't understand the point on the responsibility of the lender.
I think that was Mr. Dennis's point.
Okay.
A lender can sign an NOC, that's true, but the lender would have to know.
Excuse me.
I've never signed a notice of commence. That's always the borrower
It
doing
should
that.
be the owner, but the
Yeah.
lender, in some circumstances, can.
Okay.
So what we do not have a notice of commitment. We have an outstanding permit that hasn't been inspected, and it can't be inspected till the notice of permit, or notice of commencement is issued. And what's holding up the notice of commencement?
They can give me a notice of commencement. I just have to have it signed by the owner, or I guess the one distributing the funds, and
The owner has to sign it.
the owner
lender can also
in
sign
front of a notary. And then once that's done, I can file it with the clerk of court, bring a copy here to the county, and they'll allow me to call for an inspection.
Well, on this case, I don't think the lender's funding it. I think they're just doing inspections to release the insurance funds.
I don't know, I
Okay.
learned about the lender today.
Okay.
They're still dispersing the funds. Doesn't matter if it's their funds, they're dispersing them, and they're legally required to ensure the NOC is filed properly.
Well, I think we're at the point is we need to find out if the lender, or if the homeowner is willing to sign a notice of commencement.
Am I the only one
You need to come back up here, Ms. Stevens. It appears that what's holding this project up right now is the notice of commencement, which you have to sign in order for him to get an inspection.
Okay. So commencement means you begin on something, correct? Which was December of last year. Commencement means that he's going to start work in my house to fix things that were not done or to finish things that were not done, correct? Commencement means that in order for him to get a permit, someone has to come and see that he's doing the work correctly. I've already paid someone else to do that. How can anybody expect me to want to sign a notice of commencement with someone who did poor work to begin with, and he literally, physically cannot do any more work in my house because I have paid for it to be fixed? You want me to sign a notice of commencement so that he can save his face? I'm sorry. He was not concerned about my house. I'm not signing a legal document for him to get a permit and to get an inspection at my home when I've already covered it. I've already taken care of it.
So for your purposes, you're all clear as far as.
The only thing I have not fixed is the floors. The floors
Yeah,
still look
but I
like
mean, you don't
carpet.
have any outstanding
Nope.
contractors or anything like?
No, my
okay.
house is done.
And there's no other items to be done but
Other
by
than
you,
the
but by
flooring.
you? Right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll do that later. I'm just gonna sit here in case y'all need.
I'm confused on how the lender wasn't notified of the project or
The lender was notified. As I said at the beginning of the timeline, I had to provide his license, I had to provide the contract, I had to provide his W-9, I had to provide his workman's comp or something to that effect. They had to see that the name across all of those documents were legal. The naming information and providing a contract to my lender is to show that I am paying for the repairs that the insurance company is paying for. They give me the money with Navy Federal as the other party.
Yeah,
Navy
there's-
Federal says you can't have your funds until you prove to me you've paid someone of quality to fix the work. All I had to provide to them is proof that he exists, that he's a real contractor, that he has a license, that all of that kind of stuff. They never asked for a notice of commencement.
Yeah, they're senior to his position, but that was their responsibility to provide you with that notice of commencement. Matter of fact, that's pretty clear, and then your responsibility in that is to post it to the site, but you're not required to maintain it on the site.
Right, I know that now,
So
after the fact, right?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that wasn't his responsibility ever. I mean, as far as what I'm tracking with.
Can I get some clarification from the county on this? I understand that the builder needs to file the notice of commencement.
That's what I've always understood.
Yeah, normally that's the case. I don't know, I think anyone can file it, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but normally the builder will file it.
Right.
And the owner has to sign it, and there's a notice to owner, and it explains basically that if someone's not paid, then the property's liened and the owner is responsible.
Correct.
The owner of the property.
The only purpose for the notice of commencement, as far as the lender's concerned, if they're lending, is that their name is on the notice prior to commencement. As far as.
I'm assuming that.
Yeah.
I would not be the one to
Right,
ask.
but they were not lending, so I think that's
Right.
maybe
They-
where
they
the
weren't
difference.
lending. Right.
They're,
Well, if they're protecting
they're,
their client.
One at a time, I can't take everyone.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's if she borrowed the funds or not. I mean, that's a separate contract issue with her mortgage and stuff as far as notification to them. But as far as if they're dispersing the funds for repairs.
I just think
insurance
we
funds.
have a little bit of a disagreement on the board. I've been in banking for over almost 40 years now and done a lot of construction. That's not the procedures we followed.
Well, you've been-
So,
I think you ought to take a look at that because that's incorrect. Matter of fact, the Supreme Court of Florida ruled in 2005 that filling out anything on a notice of commencement document constitutes the unlicensed practice of law. That's an instrument that's filed on real property that can affect someone's title and conveyances and things like that. So unless that builder, with all the builders that are filing these notices of commencement are paralegals or licensed by the Florida bar attorneys, they shouldn't sign anything on that piece of paper. It's the owner's responsibility unless a lender is dispersing the funds, whether it's borrowed funds or not. They're dispersed, that is a disbursement of funds. It is the lender's absolute requirement to provide that notice of commencement, and when they do not, their failure to supply that notice of commencement, it automatically opens up a right of action from the owner to the lender, but not the builder to the lender. And that's in the statute.
I understand all this about the notice of commencement. We have a problem issue here that the notice of commencement for this project has not been issued.
Mm-hmm.
The homeowner refuses to sign it
That's right.
because of the performance of the contractor. So where do we go?
I mean, dismiss.
The permit was acquired after the fact. We're not going to quarrel with the word commencement, but there is a procedure in the code that I found and I discussed with staff that we can acquire a permit after the fact. That's what Van did. So rightly or wrongly, I advised my client, go get the permit, call the inspection, and then I was reminded the NOC would pose a challenge. So that's how that happened. Tyler, if you want to speak to it.
One of the things that we had done that nobody else you could have hired did, we did remove some interior non-load bearing walls. We removed them, we hung the drywall, we finished it, we painted it. That's done. That's one of the main reasons why I would have an inspection. They could come out and inspect that there used to be walls here, now they're not. House is still standing, it's non-load bearing. But that was, there's nothing her guys did that changed any of that. My team did that, and I could have that inspected if I could file through, with the NOC. But
So the after acquired permit is something in the code that we acquired after the fact. It doesn't change the fact we should have gotten it in the first place, but that's where we sit. We're trying to remedy this situation, and we certainly won't let this happen again.
no.
Well,
Sorry. Since then, I'm super nervous here. Heart's in my throat. I'm brand new at all this. It's all I've ever wanted. I studied for this for a long time. I wasn't very smart in school. It took me a while to pass this test, but I got here and I made a mistake right off the bat. I've done several jobs since this job. Every job I've done, I've pulled a permit for, and I have not failed a single inspection. This project here, I know there's a picture being painted here that I've somehow taken advantage, and I have not. I've been here since day one, every day, and on day one we discussed, mistakenly, like I said, not pulling a permit. She was aware. She was well aware, and it was a mistake. I'm not saying that to justify what I did. But I'm saying from the very beginning, she had a chance to file this grievance, but she waited conveniently until it was the time to pay me that final check, that now all of a sudden I've got poor workmanship and lack of permitting, lack of county involvement, while she simultaneously is
Mr.
building
Thompson,
it. Yes, sir.
that really has nothing to do with it.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
What's the pleasure of the board? We've got a contractor that did not pull the permit. We've got a project that has not been inspected, that permit needed. The job's been finished by somebody else.
Mr. Chairman, if I may chime in, just a friendly reminder, the purpose of today's hearing is for the board to determine if there is probable cause that some code violation exists. If there is, I would need the board to specify with examples why they think, or what the code violation is, and give examples why they think that that violation occurred.
I agree with you.
So, just a friendly reminder. Thank you.
What's the actual complaint?
Well, we've all but stipulated we didn't pull that permit. That's what the complaint is.
I'm talking about, I hear all the
We're
other.
done with the discussion right
Okay, I
now.
was just gonna reiterate that my house was put in danger. Okay, so code violation, electrical stuff was moved, my electrical box was painted over.
That's for us to
And
determine.
there was a mold in my shower.
That's for us to determine.
No, I'm just saying the actual, not aesthetics, not, paint. I'm talking about what is the actual complaint that is
It came
brought
before
for
the board.
probable cause? For us to decide if there was probable cause.
So I have on your screen the original complaint form. the description there, down bottom, references, the scope of work that was done. And then it also does reference no permitting
Yeah.
towards the end.
Larry? It's right at the bottom. In other words, the complaint is no permits were pulled. And we're here to determine probable cause, and no permits is a violation of code.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Okay?
Yeah, I find that there's probable cause that no permits, or that the permit was not originally pulled, and we can move to the next level.
Do you have a list of possible?
If I could, Jennifer, if you could pull up the ordinances, 18-37. If I could ask for a little bit of specificity, there are 3 separate sections, there are 3 separate subsections on proceeding with a job without the applicable permits. It's 18-37, subsection 15. Yes, subsection 15. So there are 3 separate subsections within that. There's a late permit, a failure to obtain an inspection, or finishing a job without having the proper permit pulled.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, let's do,
All 3 would be in violation, wouldn't they, Larry?
Who was that speaking?
That was me.
No,
yeah, no, I only want to bring it on one.
B wouldn't
B.
apply. He couldn't get an inspection.
Failure to obtain inspection.
Without an NOC, he couldn't have gotten one anyway, unless he got.
Well, you would have A and B,
How did-
A
how did-
and B.
How did Van get an inspection then?
Yeah, but it would be A only.
Maybe Van's work was less than $2,500.
Yes.
I believe it would be A and C.
We can specify the ones we think we need to take
Yeah.
and then make the decision at the hearing.
Yeah, I'm just going to move right now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to go with A. Probably,
So the board is determining that there probable cause exists for a violation of 18-37, subsection 15, subsection A.
A.
That's correct.
That's right.
And could you specify one more time the exact example of how you think that violation occurred, just for the record?
yeah, for proceeding on a job without obtaining applicable local building department permit or permits. Is that clear?
Yes.
I'm fine with that. Is it one singular permit or multiple permits? If it's multiple, which ones?
I think
It's
one.
it's
Just
one permit.
one.
This is his first time, correct? This is his first instance?
Yes, sir. This was the first job that he contracted for after obtaining his license.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. 1 opposed. Therefore, the motion is approved. Probable cause.
So at this point, the administrative complaint would go out alleging a violation of this specific subsection. That will go to Mr. Thompson and Mr. Passaretti. I do know that they already intend to resolve this. Is that correct, Mr. Passaretti?
Yes, we tried to resolve it before this hearing.
Yes.
And we continue to try to resolve it.
So if there is direction, I mean, the board obviously sees what the penalty is limited to for a first-time violation. If the board would like to direct staff and me to resolve this before the next hearing, after the administrative complaint goes out, I believe we could do that, or we could bring it back here for the formal resolution, whichever the board would prefer.
Yeah. Okay, would ask that, with the board's agreement, that staff and the attorney try to resolve the issue before we come back to disciplinary hearing. If that fails, we go to disciplinary hearing.
That's correct. If we don't, if the issue does not get resolved before the next hearing.
Yes.
I assume it will, so the staff can bring back an update for that.
I'm highly confident we'll get this resolved.
Okay. Is that agreement?
Yes, if you can make a motion, if that's what the board would like.
I'll make the motion.
Make a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Who seconded? Thank you.
Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion's approved.
And to be clear,
We'll move on to the second.
I will work with staff and the administrative complaint. If it doesn't go out this week, it'll be the very beginning of next week, and then we can work on resolving it. Thank you.
We have one more.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just trying to clean up my screen here. Item 8.2 is Brian P. Webb doing business as American Garage Door LLC, state registered license number DWS 0058, Contractor Competency Board case number 200433 COM. It's in regards to Harbor Point condominiums located at 154 Ethel Wingate Drive in Pensacola, Florida 32507. This item was continued from our last scheduled meeting, and they're cutting the lawn. At that time, the board determined to give the respondent additional time. He wanted to make some corrections and try to resolve this matter. I believe both parties are present at this time for any questions that the board may have.
Okay. Copy? You can come up, give us your name, address, and
Good morning, y'all. My name is George Crumby. My address is 154 Ethel Wingate Drive, condominium number 201. My phone number is 619-925-3163. Since the initial hearing, Mr. Webb from American Garage Door, I think, has made every effort possible to correct the failings of his initial installation team. There's 21 garages we're talking about. As the initial hearing pointed out, there was no permit pulled for that particular job at all. And apparently there was mass confusion among the management company, the board of directors, and American Garage Door about who was going to do what. It was like a who shot John type situation. Since then, I've talked with Mr. Webb numerous times. He's had his crew out there, a different crew. Apparently the initial crew was fired en masse. Every garage door, to my knowledge, has been repaired to the owner's satisfaction. I want to make darn sure that I'm not representing the HOA, the management company, or the board. I'm representing George Crumby. My garage door was installed incorrectly. It's been repaired. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think he's gone and done more than I expected him or his company to do. So I am satisfied. I'm only aware of 2 of the 21 garage door owners that I've been unable to get to contact him. One of them is a pain in the ass, and the other one has assured me that his garage door is satisfactory to him, but I have not looked at them. So I'm happy. He said that here with Dr. Lambert, another witness who was here last time, that he was going to provide the manuals for the garage doors. Each of us is supposed to have a manual that came with the garage door. We have not yet received them, but apparently they're on order. The other thing that he was supposed to do that has not been completed is to paint around the garage door where the trim was taken down, and it's a space that has no paint on it, and then replace some caulking. Those in my mind are minor things. I would just like to eliminate the complaint, and we'll move on from here like good neighbors, if that's satisfactory with the board.
Thank you, Mr. Crombie. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank Mr. Webb.
Mr. Webb, if you would.
Yeah, I'm Brian Webb, American Garage Door, 8217 Lyric Drive, Pensacola, Florida, 32514. Sorry, I got a cold. Thanks, George. Yeah, it's been a little mess going on out there, but we took care of all the doors. The manual is online.
Okay, the manual is online, so people can get it if
Yes,
they
sir.
have to. Okay,
Yes, sir, but if willing, I'll get him copies.
okay,
It takes time.
Do you need a motion to dismiss?
yes.
Motion to dismiss?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Pose like sign. The motion to dismiss is approved.
Thank you all
No
very
further
much.
complaint. Thank you, Mr. Webb, for being here and for putting your work in
Yes, sir.
into solving that problem. Thank you, Mr. Crombie. Being no further business before the board, it is adjourned.
Can we get?
Thank you, Chair.
Now, can you get out of here?